Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and just physically export this for the previewer. There are a couple things that we have. First, we need to export our rig. File, export. After having it selected, it's important that we have it selected. Now I need to go ahead and go to the .xsf file. And I'm just going to go ahead and click this. And if you're overwriting a file, it's not as important as when you're generating a file, but if you are generating a new file, you're going to need to type what you're exporting. In this case, we're exporting a skeleton, which is the .xsf, so we're going to have to type .xsf. If we don't, it's going to make a .csf file instead. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and it's going to show me, well, now it's yelling at me because I already have a file there, and it wants to know what I want to do. Do I want to rename it or just overwrite it? I'm just going to hit yes to replace it. And now it's going to tell me all the objects that are within this object. That may not make sense now, but it will make sense later, and it's something that we don't need to get into now since we only have one object. And since this is the object, it's just verifying, just saying, hey, what do you want part of the export? This is fine. I'm just going to go ahead and hit finish. So that exported a .xsf file, and that's going to help tell the previewer how to move the points, just how I move these points in the 3D view. Wherever this moves within the previewer, which is going to happen to be invisible, is going to move our points the same way. So now we need to export our 3D geometry. Okay, so I'm going to go to File, Export, with the object selected, and I need a .xmf. And it's the same thing. We're going to want to make sure to type .xmf on there, or else it's going to export it .cmf. CMFs work in the previewer, but I've had issues that I've run into that actually cause quite a big problem. So now I just do the .xmf. Now I get yelled at again. I'm just going to overwrite, and what this is going to do, it's going to pull in the information that was made in the .xsf file. The .xsf or the .xmf file is really the kingpin of all the all the files that we in generating a 3D product. The .xmf is going to identify, it's going to generate your material IDs. It's going to tell the previewer what the points in your geometry are, what your vertices are. It's going to say what should move those vertices. It's going to do a lot of things that we're going to check out in a bit. So we need to go ahead and hit next. Now these things I really don't change. I'm not even sure if the previewer actually looks at any of this information. So we're going to go ahead, keep going, boop, and now we have a skeleton exported and our geometry exported. Now, I probably should have brought this up before, but when we're exporting our geometry, it's very important that we have two things. We need to make sure that we have a material applied to our object, which is going to be, which should always have a material applied, but more importantly, we need to make sure that that material has a name, and the most important thing for our name of a material is to have these brackets right here. They're above the enter key. They're the square brackets. We need to have those brackets in the name, and we need to have a positive number. So I'm just going to pick a random number, 22, or pick a different random number, 18. There we go. So in this case, I renamed this material with the brackets in 18. Doesn't really matter what else is here. Whatever you have in front of it, it's just going to help you, if you have more complex scenes, identify what this material is. The second most important thing that you need to be aware of, you need to be aware that your material needs to have a texture applied to it. So you can just go ahead and I can just show you on a new material here. I'm going to select that and go to Maps, and then here I can go ahead and select None, And basically what's happening here, we have a bunch of different options. These are all different types of different types of images that are generated solely with math, but this one will take picture files. So I can go ahead, hit bitmap, hit OK, and then I can go ahead and pick different types of textures. In this case, I have that one there, or I can select this one if I like. So you can see that this is loaded in, and then if I want to apply it to this object, I just need to drag it. And then to see it, I just click this button. So now I'm able to see the object, the texture within on our object. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come back to our object here, reapply it, and I'm just going to re-export just so we can get our new information here. Okay. So let's go ahead, File, Export. Simple plain mesh. I'm just going to go with 18 on it, just so we know what it is, and .xmf. And since it's a new file, I'm not going to get yelled at. It's going to pull in the last XSF file, the rig file that I generated. I'm going to hit next. Again, I'm just going to keep going, hitting finish. So now I have a new XMF file, which is simple plain mesh with 18.